It was last November when Jon Stewart promised on his show he would come here and answer my questions. After months of evasion, disconnected phone numbers, and press agents saying, "Who are you again?" it appears he finally ran out of excuses. And so, Jon Stewart, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. I just want to say, as a viewer, I can't tell you how disappointed I am that you would sully a program of this integrity, of this quality, with a presence such as Jon Stewart.
Now, look, have you checked out the mugs?
Yeah, they're very nice.
Do you see what it says on the inside of the mugs?
Can I read it out loud? It's somewhat anti-Semitic. Do you want me to read it? Fair and balanced.
Yes.
Yeah. I like the fact
how about we toast and we both take a big drink out of our mugs?
It's interesting that the mug itself
No, drink, no talking, just drink it. Drink the water.
Why do you want me to drink it?
Just, please.
It's just interesting that you want me to drink it. Why don't you have a taste of this first?
I'm drinking it myself.
Yeah, but we could have different waters.
Well, come on.
I've seen this in the spine.
You wouldn't be scared of this?
All right.
Now sip. There you go. Well, and while you're drinking, you love to take shots at Fox News.
Yes, I do.
Over the years, you have called us, and we're going to put this on the screen because this is heavy stuff. A biased organization relentlessly promoting an ideological agenda under the rubric of being a news organization.
Rubric.
And, yeah, I actually think was slightly the wrong use of the word rubric.
Was it really?
A relentless, agenda-driven, 24-hour news, opinion, propaganda delivery system. Yeah. Where do you come up with this stuff?
It's actually quite easy when you feel it. You got to feel it in your soul, you know.
Well, here's the deal. Are you willing to say the same thing about the mainstream media, about ABC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times? Would you say the same thing about them, that they are, in your words, a propaganda delivery system relentlessly pushing a liberal agenda?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Why not?
MSNBC is attempting that. I think they've looked at your business model and they've seen the success of it. And I think they're attempting to be a more activist organization.
You don't think the New York Times is a liberal organization?
Now,
pushing a liberal agenda?
The New York Times, no, I think that they are to a certain extent. Do I think they're relentlessly activist? No. In a purely liberal partisan way? No, I don't. Well, I think Fox is a very special.
The shutters to go from your eyes, because I am going to prove it to you in the next few minutes.
Oh, okay. Then I'm excited about that.
Well, here we go.
Can I tell you this? I love to learn.
Even you made fun of the fact that the New York Times and the Washington Post, when this document dump of 24,000 emails of Sarah Palin was released, and they got so excited about it, they asked their readers, can help us go through these 24,000 documents. How do you explain the fact that they would do that? They would ask their readers to help them go through the Palin emails, inconsequential as they turned out to be, but they never said, help us go through the 2,000 pages of the Obama health care bill?
Because I think their bias is towards sensationalism and laziness. I wouldn't say it's towards a liberal agenda. It's light fluff, so it's absolutely within the wheelhouse. I mean, if your suggestion is that they are relentlessly partisan, then why haven't they gone and backed away from Weiner? Now they've jumped into the Weiner pool with such delight and such relish, because the bias
of the
bias of the mainstream. Oh, I'm not saying it's defensible, but the bias of the mainstream media is towards sensationalism, conflict, and laziness.
You take your own shot recently at Sarah Palin. You compared her video of her One Nation bus tour to a certain commercial. Let's take a look.
Valtrex.
As the tour rolls on,
stopping at historic places like Gettysburg,
and then to Philadelphia to see the Liberty Bell.
You know what's cool, man? The way they had reporters finishing each other's sentences. Where have I seen that technique before?
I have genital herpes, and I try to be careful.
Very careful. Very careful.
Sarah Palin and her herpes drug? Really?
Yeah. As a technique for the commercial? So you're saying that by comparing the technique that she used in her video to a technique used in a herpes commercial,
you were not making a political comment?
You really think that's a political comment?
Yes.
You're insane.
Really?
Yeah, here's the difference between you and I. I'm a comedian first. My comedy is informed by an ideological background. There's no question about that. But the thing that you will never understand And the thing that in some respects conservative activists will never understand is that Hollywood, yeah, they're liberal, but that's not their primary motivating force. I'm not an activist. I'm a comedian.
All right. I want to thank you for saying that because Baltimore Sun TV critic David Zurawik put it up on the screen, says that is your dodge. Stewart is never held accountable in his media criticism, is he? When he is wrong, he goes into the tap dance of saying he's only a comedian and shouldn't be taken seriously.
Let's talk about that. When did I say to you, I'm only a comedian? I said I'm a comedian first. That's not only. Being a comedian is harder than what you do. What I do is much harder. I put material through a process, a comedic process. I don't just sit and narrate.
But you are a political commentator. The comedy has a political...
Some of it.
Here's your take on GOP presidential candidate Herman Cain.
Well, that's why I'm going to only allow small bills. 3 pages. You didn't have time to read that one over the dinner table.
If I am president, treaties will have to fit on the back of a cereal box. From now on, the State of the Union address will be delivered in the form of a fortune cookie. I am Herman Cain, and I do not like to read.
You planning a remake of Amos and Andy?
Why don't you do you want to show me doing all the voices for all the other people that we do? Do you want to see my New York voice? My Chinese guy voice? Are you suggesting that you and I are the same? Are you suggesting that, what am I at my highest aspiration and what are you at your highest aspiration?
I think,
tell me.
Honestly, I think you want to be a political player.
You are wrong. You're dead wrong. I appreciate what you're saying. Do I want my voice heard? Do I want my voice heard? Absolutely. That's why I got into comedy. Am I an activist in your mind, an ideological partisan activist?
Yeah.
Okay, then I disagree with you. You can't understand, because of the world you live in, that there is not a designed ideological agenda on my part to affect partisan change, because that's the soup you swim in. And I appreciate that, and I understand it. It reminds me of, in ideological regimes, they can't understand that there is free media other places because they receive marching orders.
How do you explain me? Think I get marching orders?
I think that you are here, in some respects, to bring a credibility and an integrity to an organization that might not otherwise have it without your presence. So you are here as a counterweight to Hannity, let's say, or you are here as a counterweight to Glenn Beck, because otherwise it's just pure talk radio and it doesn't establish the type of political play that it wants to be. But I understand that. But for you to suggest, I want to stay on this because this is important. But
you sound like Newt Gingrich during the CNN debate.
Am I dodging you? Am I dodging you by saying I'm just a comedian?
Here is the question. Here is the question. And I think there are plenty of examples. Let me just give you another example of, this isn't you, this is the mainstream media. Here's Diane Sawyer. Diane Sawyer leading her program last year announcing the new immigration law. Take a look.
If a stranger walking down the street or riding the bus does not seem to be a U.S. citizen, is it all right for the police to stop and question him? Well, today the governor of Arizona signed a law that requires police to do just that.
But that isn't what the law requires them to do. In fact, the law says the only way that you can stop somebody is as part of a lawful enforcement stop. You can't just say, hey, you're walking down the street exactly as she suggested. It has to be because there's a broken taillight, or they're loitering, or they're doing something else. Don't you think she should have mentioned that?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we should have more full context and more of the types of things that you're talking about. But I don't understand how that's purely a liberal or conservative bias. That's, like I said, sensationalist and somewhat lazy. But I don't understand how that's partisan. The embarrassment is that I'm given credibility in this world because of the disappointment that the public has in what the news media does.
I don't think
because I have an ideological agenda.
I don't think our viewers are the least bit disappointed with us. I think our viewers think finally they're getting somebody who tells the other side of the story.
And
One more
who is
example.
The most consistently misinformed media viewers? The most consistently misinformed? Fox. Fox viewers. Consistently. Every poll.
Can we talk about your network?
Yes.
Can we talk about Comedy Central? Because
be delighted to.
Case in point.
All right.
How did you physically have sex with Tommy Lee? He has a huge if he put that thing in front of my face, I wouldn't know whether I should it or feed it a peanut.
It's not exactly masterpiece theater you're working for.
You're damn right, and I think I am perfectly placed. I think that is where I belong.
You're the counterbalance to that. I'm suggesting that there is bias and that you only tell part of the story.
Oh, there's no question that I don't tell the full story. I mean, I don't disagree with that. But I don't not tell the full story based on a purely ideological partisan agenda. That's my point. My point isn't
I think
my stuff doesn't
I think your agenda is more out there, and you're pushing more of an agenda than you pretend to.
But it's about absurdity. It's about absurdity, and it's about corruption. And that is the agenda that we push.
I will defend everything that we put on this show.
Oh, and by the way, how often do you see your show on my show? My beef isn't with you.
Okay.
But I believe you exist as, I think that Mr. Ailes has very brilliantly put you on. And I think you're a tough interviewer. I think you're a fair interviewer. I think some of the things that...
Are you disappointed in Barack Obama as president?
Yes, I think I am.
Do you think he's lived up to his promise to fix the economy?
No, I don't know the kind of sway that a president can have on the economy, but do I believe that he's lived up to the promises? No. He came in and said, you can't expect to have a different result with the same people. That was, in many ways, his seminal campaign focus. And all I see as far as economic stewardship are the guys that got us into this mess in the first place.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of the CNN debate with the Republicans? Mm-hmm. Did you see anybody on that stage who you could envision voting for against Obama?
I thought that in general, you know, their responses to things in terms of tax cuts being the magic bullet as to what it is. So far, I haven't heard anything that appeals to my sense of that intrigues me politically or in any way that is different. What intrigued me about Obama was a statement that I thought he understood the corrosiveness of the system that existed, and I thought he was going to do more to blow that system up.
When's the last time you voted for a Republican for president?
For president, HW.
Against Michael Dukakis?
That's right.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
He seemed like a different... There was an integrity about him that I respected greatly. And there's something about tiny people in helmets. I assume that part of this is to delegitimize criticism against Fox by suggesting that it's coming from a place of contrived.
I'm just trying
political...
to understand you.
Is that really true?
Yes.
Because here's the thing that surprises me about that. I've existed in this country forever. There have been people like me who satirize the political process and who satirize, what was it that Will Rogers said, you know, how crazy is it when politicians are a joke and comedians are taken seriously?
That assumes a kind of, and this is where I think you're wrong and you don't get it,
that may be right.
Is that there's not a single marching order. There's not some kind of command. There's not a talking point memo. I'm sitting here.
I disagree with.
I am sitting here talking to Jon Stewart, and I'm trying to get it, trying to understand you. I'm trying to see whether or not you recognize that what I believe is true. There's as much bias on the other side as you subscribe to Fox, and why you seem to go easy on that.
I think that there is probably a liberal bias that exists within the media that is because of the medium in which it exists. I think that the majority of people working in it probably hold liberal viewpoints. But I don't think that they are as relentlessly activist as the conservative movement that has risen up over the last 40 years. And that movement has decided that they have been victims of a witch hunt. And to some extent, they're right. People on the right are called racist, and they're called things with an ease that I am uncomfortable with, and homophobic and all those other things. And I think that is absolutely something that they have a real right to be angry about and to feel that they've been vilified for those things. And I've been guilty of doing some of those things myself.
I accept your apology. I want to thank you for coming on.
Do you get me?
Well, you know what? Will you come back? We can explore this some more.
All right.
And we validate.
Still? You're a good man.